Hello, my beautiful souls. I hope you are doing amazing. If you found this video, I hope that you can take anything from it that you might need. Today is October 1st, the first of the 31 days of spooky, 31 days of Halloween, but for me, it is 31 days of advocating domestic violence and abuse. And honestly, I think this is the perfect season. Like the fact that they lined it up with the 31 days of horror, Halloween, and all things spooky makes total sense to me, because what is more horrific than finding out the ones closest to you are the abusers, finding out that the one that's sharing your bed is the one trying to kill you. That is the plot of many horror movies. So unfortunately, it's not a movie for a lot of people. The majority, I feel like at this point, we like to act like it's something that can happen to me or can't happen to my friends or doesn't happen to people I know. But the sad reality is, it's probably, if it's not happening to you, it's definitely have happened to someone you know. It is a very common issue that thrives in silence, so we do not hear about it. We're here to change that, okay? That's all I gotta say, is we are here to change that. 31 days of speaking on it. And hopefully every single day for 365 days on that, because why not? This issue would not be so common if more people were able to speak on it. Unfortunately, though, that's how it works. The abusers love to put this power and fear over their victims so that they feel that they are unable to speak up. They make it so that punishment will come if you try to speak up, because they know that once you speak up and once you get that voice, things change, and they don't want that. So anyway, for day one, I'm just going to keep it pretty simple with the intros. Pretty much that 31 days of horror. And I'm going to tell a bit of my story each of the days. Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but I will definitely be sharing like facts, but I don't want to be boring. We always hear the statistics like, oh, the first 2 weeks of running away from your abuser is the most deadly. Like, we hear that, but we need to go a little deeper. Why are we so okay with that just simply being a statistic? Move along versus diving into how can we change that? How can we make it so that it's not that way for a lot of people, so that they have a higher chance of getting out? Also, that saying right there of the first 2 weeks being the most dangerous scares a lot of people to not even try to leave, and I feel like that feeds the problem. Like that's what people want, is for you to be too scared to leave. So I don't want anyone here watching this to think that they can't leave because of the statistics on those first 2 weeks. This is like, what's going on here? This is like, oh, so curly. It's like, I'm a strawberry. Anyway, my train of thought. I don't want anyone to feel like they cannot leave or that they shouldn't leave or have any of those fears or stigmas holding them back, because that is not fair to you. I also don't want you to feel pressured into having to tell your story or speak up if you have not fully felt comfortable. Depending on your situation, always do what is best for you. If speaking up in the moment is, or if laying low and playing your cards right, whatever the case may be, if you're healing and you just need to retreat into hermit mode for a bit, or if you're stepping out of that hermit mode and you're ready to speak on it, whatever works for you is what I'm encouraging you to do. For me, I have been away about 4 years now, and the first 2 years of those 4 years, I was actively and relentlessly stalked. Now, for the past 2 years, I've just been trying to heal. I definitely gone into hermit mode for like the past year, and I'm working on crawling out and getting my voice. I have never necessarily stopped talking on it, but I definitely hid behind cute designs that I would make on Canva with a bunch of facts on it more than I would show my face and talk about it. Imposter syndrome do be a motherfucking bitch when it comes to your recovery journey. You've spent so long in a time of people or a person just like telling you that you're not it, like you're not worth it, like you should be counting your blessings that they're even bothering to put up with you, right? And all of that can like really take a toll on you when you get out and you're speaking up for yourself or trying to. This imposter syndrome of just like, who? You ain't shit. Stop. Like, what did you even go through, right? So that's a lot of what I've been experiencing of and having trouble telling my story, because I'm like, who? Me? Like, what? But I don't want to be silenced. I remember being very angry towards women in general as the facts started sinking in about my situation, because I was like, why aren't you guys talking about this and like speaking up so that I could have had a chance to identify it sooner? Fortunately, it doesn't always work that way, but I did make a promise to myself that I am going to speak up about it. So I put a bunch on my website, 𝒮𝓄𝒃𝓐𝑔.com, on all of my platforms. You can follow me at 𝒮𝓄𝒃𝓐𝑔. I'm always trying to talk about some of it somehow, because I want it there, just simply there, so when someone else is going through it and looking for whatever it is that they're looking for, that I could pop up with some more information, that there could just be more information available to them to help them identify their situation and help them identify ways to get out of it. But I do want to share for the first day anyways, that whatever you are going through, understand that you are worthy of love, true love. You're worthy of being heard. You're worthy of safety. You're worthy of all these things that you have questioned if you are worthy or not. You do deserve these things. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Domestic violence, domestic abuse can come in many, many forms. Obviously, the violence is very physical. The abuse can come in mentally, emotionally, financially. There's so many ways that they can come at you that makes it so hard to deal with or function in your basic life, that you just start to crash and crumble and break down. And that is unfortunately what they want. But I want you to understand that that is not what you deserve. And whatever has happened to you does not define you. Whatever you are currently going through does not define you. Whatever you have been through does not define you. Your future is still up to you, and it is just that, your future, no one else's. Okay, so for these 31 days of horror, I hope you guys tune in. I'm going to try to make the videos relatively short. I know sometimes I can ramble on for over an hour, but I'm going to try to keep them between 10 to 30 minutes. This video just being an intro. Who I am, for those who haven't followed me, I am 𝒮𝓄𝒃𝓐𝑔. I am a survivor of domestic violence. I did come from a very toxic household with an abusive father. He was very mentally and emotionally abusive, and physically at times, for sure. And then I was forced by him to get married because he said I would be a deadbeat under the bridge if I even thought that I could have a life of my own without having a man take care of me. And any attempt that I made to get out of that house was met with a lot of force, police being called on me that I'm a missing person. Even though we're texting, he would put in missing people reports on me because he knew it would like ruin my record and ruin my credibility of being believed. So I gave in and I got married, and I knew this guy for 3 years, and I should have seen the flags, but I didn't. I just wanted to get away from my dad. And he was relatively nice. He was Prince Charming, as they come with love bombing, gaslighting, just all these things. And I fell for it. And I was like, well, it could be worse. I mean, at least you love me, right? And I said I do, and it was just real quick. He isolated me from my family, took me to a state across the country that I hadn't been to and didn't like know anyone in, and real quick went physical, violent, to I guess I'm being pimped out and making him money and never seeing a penny of it. And it happened so quickly, and I couldn't. It was got to the point where I saw that there was no real way out, which is what he wanted me to believe, unless I play my cards really smart and beat him at his own game. So I did that. I played him at his own game. I started to manipulate him and try to make him believe that I still loved him, even though I had finally opened my eyes. I saw all of his cycles, and I memorized that, so I knew if he was here, he was going here next, so I gotta be over here. And I just kept trying to be one step ahead of him. Thankfully, I did get out. He was very much at my ankles the entire time, just trying to scare me and silence me. He had made threats to kill me, kill my cats, kill my family. Like, he was everything textbook, everything textbook, unfortunately. And I realized I was everything that the statistics said that I was, and that was very heartbreaking. So much so to the point that the statistics would say that it takes on average 7 attempts of leaving your abuser before you officially do. And yes, it was my 7th attempt exactly of trying to leave this guy that I am now here away from him. There were many literal attempts in between, and I was right back in, just falling for the cycles. It was not until I got a full understanding of him, his psychology, me, my psychology, and the games that were being played, that I was able to play those cards the way that I needed to play it so that I had a chance of leaving. This is why this is not something to take lightly. This is not something to judge other people on. We hear those stigmas all the time. Oh, if it was really that bad, she would have left. Those words come from people who have no idea the situation. They should count their blessings and keep their mouth quiet. Unless they're going to talk support, they shouldn't talk, because that is so detrimental to survivors and victims and people who are going through those situations, to feel like they're choosing that. You're not, okay? Like, we are always choosing to love and to do better, and it is being manipulated. So don't ever think that you have chosen that and start feeling shame and guilt. It does come in waves. I have definitely felt shame and guilt through the healing journey, and still do. Like, I was literally crying today with my imposter syndrome and guilt and shame. But it happens, and again, like I said, it happens pretty commonly. So yes, it was me typing on the computer one day, why can't I leave him? I remember that moment and that sentence because I was so confused. I have made attempts to get away and I was always back. I knew I wanted more, but then like, here I am. I knew I was a good person, but like no one would believe I was. So like, what was happening? And I remember sitting at the desk and typing in the computer, why do I keep going back to him? Why can't I leave him? And some Purple Purse Foundation of like Allstate, I think at the time, I don't know if it's still a thing or not, came up, their article on domestic violence and the statistics. And it blew my mind. And I was so disgusted. I felt so many emotions all at once. I remember just literally like falling out of my chair, hitting the ground, like all psycho mode, people may call it, screaming. I let out that feral, like animalistic scream from my core as I just hit the floor and had to like realize everything and just how much of the statistics I was, especially like coming from a Latino background, the people of color, we're always so harshly judged. And it's just like accepted, and it's something that, if anything, is how it should be, that we're supposed to be just okay with the toxic male figure and toxic masculinity, and we're not, and we shouldn't be. That's something that has been programmed deep through generations, and I'm here to break out of that programming and help anyone else that I can as well to break out of that programming, get rid of those stigmas, understand their beautiful true value, and move forward to the beautiful life that they deserve and that they have every rights to live. So yes, thank you for coming along. Day 1 intro, 31 days of horror with me, Rosie. I don't know, I froze so hard. I was like, horror? Do I want to say that? 31 days of horror, talking about 31 days of DV with me, Rosie. Follow me on my platforms. I am on TikTok, Instagram, and here YouTube at 𝒮𝓉𝓇𝑔. And check out my website, 𝒮𝓉𝓇𝑔.com. I do have a blog. I have another thing that I'm trying to get myself to do is working through the imposter syndrome and the shame and the guilt and everything, is to actually be active on the blog. There is a post this year talking about shame and guilt. And then you'll go back 3 years when I first made this website, or like first really started to like try to make the blogs on the website. And it was very like you can see, go see it. It has a lot of information in there, but it's still, I kept it very factual, very statistics, very dictionary, because I was still struggling with speaking up with my inner true gut feelings on it. The first one that I finally did was this past one that is on healing through like the waves of guilt and shame. That's when I put a lot more me in there, and I'm working on putting more me in there, more my stories. It is also from reading someone else's story that helped encourage me. Right after that event of falling to the ground screaming, I got up and I just started deep diving into everything. And I found this woman's blog, her telling her story, and one story specifically was just so identical to mine. It was almost like someone had a camera in my home watching me, and then wrote that on the blog. And I was just so appalled by how common this is. And I was like, no, we got to do something to stop this. And I'm sure it's very common to all of you. So not to trigger, but trigger warning. The story that I had stumbled upon in this woman's blog that was beyond like creepy because of how similar it was an event of like a fight. You know, she's fighting with her partner and he's getting very violent, very, very physical. And she runs into the bathroom and locks herself up in the bathroom to try to protect herself. And she's in the bathroom while he's like trying to bang down the door. And I had literally just came from that. Prior to reading that blog, it was like 2 weeks ago that the event of that had happened. And it's that one. And I was taken away by the cops and thrown into the loony bin. He was not put in jail. No punishment came onto him, because while I was in the bathroom trying to hope and pray that the door wouldn't break, you can literally see the I don't know what they're called, but the side paneling on the door, whatever, door frame was starting to rip off the wall. And I screamed like, I'm going to call the cops on you. He just stopped. And what I didn't know what he was doing on the other side was he was calling the cops. He was almost like, oh, good idea. He called the cops to get a step ahead of me, told them that I had locked myself up in the bathroom to myself, and therefore nothing I said meant anything. I am from the state of Florida. This was in the state of Florida. State of Florida has a very broken, everything's broken, but very broken systems, very broken mental health system. So I was Baker acted, gone, thrown in the loony bin. And the more I try to say, like, I did not try to do that, I locked myself up in there to protect myself from him, the more they laughed at me and thought I was crazy. Because what do you mean? He called you in. He must love you. He's trying to protect you. He wouldn't have called you in if he didn't want to protect you. Yeah. So many more stories like that to come. We do have another 30 days ahead. So I just want to leave you guys with this message to stay strong, keep fighting. I have a whole merch brand where that is on hoodies and t-shirts and everything. And I think it's even like back here somewhere on my wall right there. Stay strong, keep fighting. I say it all the time because it is what I repeated in my head over and over and over again to get through these dark times. And I liked the stay strong other than like, be strong. I don't know if you guys know, like, if you guys feel a difference, but I felt a difference. I felt like stay strong was encouraging you that you are strong. I'm reminding you to stay that way, versus be strong kind of felt like I'm telling you to be something you're currently not being. I know you're strong. I know you motherfucking strong. Okay, so it's not about having to be strong. It's about staying strong and keep fighting for yourself, because you are worth it and there's so much more out there for you. So I love you. Till next time.